A male silverback gorilla named Harambe or Harambe was shot at the Cincinnati Zoo on May 28th, 2016. Now, this gorilla, the reason the gorilla was shot was because a child climbed into the gorilla exhibit, and then Harambe he basically picked up the child, and then at a certain point in time, so I didn't see the whole video, and I think there's different videos circulating showing different parts of what happened, but at a certain point in time, it seemed that the gorilla was dragging the child around, running around the cage, and dragging the child like a rag doll. And according to some observers or some gorilla experts, they were saying that Harambe was likely nervous, or he was agitated because the people were screaming at him. So he maybe got a little upset and started to run around with the kid, drag the kid around. And then the zoo people or response team or something came and shot the gorilla and killed him in order to save the child. Now, there's been a lot of reaction to this. People have been blaming the parent, the mother. I think the mother was there, and people have been angry that the gorilla got killed. Some people have questioned whether it was necessary for the gorilla to be shot in that way. Now, see, at first, in general, when I feel that if some person goes to the zoo, and there's some people who are idiots. They go to the zoo and they jump over fences, and they climb over fences, they try to climb into cages, and you've had people some people have climbed over. There's a video of a woman from a while ago. This is an old video, maybe from the 80s or 90s, where a woman climbs over a fence to get pictures of a tiger, I think, and then the tiger attacks her or bites her through, because there are two fences, and one fence I think was to make sure people stay a safe distance from the tiger, and then the other fence was just keeping the tiger inside the enclosure. But the woman jumped over the first fence, and then the tiger got a hold of her through the other fence. So to me, that woman was an idiot, and there's a temptation to say, if people who do stupid things like that, or people who climb over fences to jump into cages with wild animals, the temptation is kind of to say, let the animal eat the person or kill the person because they're an idiot. But now, in this particular case, I guess you could say that the kid was stupid, or the mother wasn't watching him properly or something. But if you look at the circumstances, this kid was, I think, 4 years old. So it's a 4-year-old kid. 4-year-old children are pretty much very stupid, a lot of them. So that's one thing. Then the mother, I think the mother had 2 other children, I think the mother was with 3 children. So now, if you have a parent who is with 3 children, it's going to be difficult for them to watch 3 children who may be going in different directions. So that's another thing. So the mother maybe can't see everything that her child is doing, and so people people were complaining about the parent, saying, "Oh, she's a bad parent," but I don't really know anything about this parent. She may or may not be a bad parent, but if she has 3 children, she's with multiple children, maybe it's probably going to be difficult for her to make sure that every single child is not off doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Because if say one child is off doing something else and she turns her attention to that other child, then the boy that then you have the other boy maybe crawls into the over the fence, or into the gorilla cage or the gorilla enclosure. Because so I'm just saying that it's not necessarily a case of bad parenting, because it's hard to watch several children at the same time. And the other thing is that now, as far as the zoo goes, the people that chose to shoot the gorilla. Now, see, the thing about gorillas is gorillas are very big animals. They're very strong, potentially dangerous, but they're actually very peaceful animals. They're not a predatory animal. They're not like tigers. They're not like lions. They're not like polar bears. They're not a creature that preys on humans, and they're vegetarians. They're even more peaceful than, say, chimpanzees, for example, because chimpanzees are predatory, carnivorous, or omnivorous. Chimpanzees can be pretty violent. They attack people, they'll attack other chimpanzees, they'll attack monkey, they'll prey on and kill other animals, whereas gorillas just eat plants. And they really don't, at least from what I've seen in TV shows and stuff, where people go into the wild and see gorillas, the gorillas pretty much will tolerate people, and they won't attack people as long as the people are not really a threat to them. So I've seen shows where you have people go see gorillas, and the little baby gorillas will come up to them and play with them, and just they're out of curiosity, and the adult gorillas will sit there and they won't they just, as long as they don't see the human as a threat, they just won't bother the people. And in other cases, there have been other cases where children have crawled into gorilla enclosures, and in some cases the gorillas have actually protected the children. Now, in this particular case, it seemed that, well, for one thing, in this case it was a male gorilla that had the child, that picked up the child when the child fell into the enclosure. So the male gorilla it's possible that male gorillas are not as gentle towards children as the females are, because in the other case where the gorilla protected the child, I think it was a female, so it's possible that male gorillas are more dangerous towards children. And the other thing is, the gorilla may not have meant to hurt the child, but if the gorilla became agitated and he started to just drag the kid around. Now this gorillas are very strong, very big and strong, and even if it did not mean to actually hurt the child, he was dragging the kid around like a rag doll. And the kid's head, well, according to one statement, I think the zoo director said that the child's head was banging on the concrete while the gorilla was dragging him. So I mean, if the gorilla became agitated and he was just treating the child in a very rough way, even if he didn't mean to hurt the child, the gorilla may have potentially killed or seriously injured the child just by accident, because he wasn't being gentle enough towards the child. Um, and the other thing is for the zoo faces the risk of liabilities, lawsuits. If the child had died at the zoo, there would have been there could have been bad publicity. There could have been lawsuits. They could have had a lot of problems if they allowed the child to die. So it may have been actually cheaper, less trouble to shoot the gorilla. And some people say, why did they not use tranquilizers? Well, according to the zoo people, a tranquilizer would take time to take effect. It would not take effect immediately. So they would shoot the animal with the tranquilizer, and then maybe a few minutes later it would go to sleep. But in those few minutes, it is possible that the gorilla may have caused serious injury to the child. So I think that's why they chose to shoot the gorilla. Now, apparently Harambe was a Western Lowland gorilla, and Western Lowland. So there's two species of gorilla. There's the Western gorilla and the Eastern gorilla, and the Western Lowland gorilla is one of two subspecies of the Western gorilla, and it's actually the most common of the different gorilla species and subspecies. So I think the rarest is the Eastern Highland gorilla, or the mountain gorilla, which there's only about 800 of them left. And but this mountain gorilla is very relatively common, because there's maybe 100,000 of them in the wild. So it's not the rarest of gorillas. It's still, I guess, threatened in the wild or endangered, but it isn't very, very rare, and it's fairly common in zoos. So for this individual to get shot is unfortunate, but it's not like the species is going to be extinct because this one silverback gorilla has been killed. So yes, it's unfortunate that the gorilla had to get killed, but I think that the overall gorilla population of this particular subspecies of gorilla, their overall population will be okay. So I think they were justified in shooting the gorilla. I'm not sure how the child got into the enclosure. Maybe they should build better fences or better barriers, but that's what happened. I guess once the boy was in danger, they really had no choice but to shoot the gorilla. They didn't have to shoot the gorilla, but if the child had been seriously injured or killed, they may have been hit with a lawsuit, gotten a lot of bad publicity, protests, all that type of stuff. So it was easier for them to shoot the gorilla to make sure the child was safe.